What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing and showing you how to play the game Crossbows and Catapults. This particular version of the game came out in 1983 from Lakeside, and it is for 2 to however many players you want to have. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be launching projectiles onto a 6-foot by 5-foot battlefield and trying to hit your opponent's castle and walls and all sorts of things. And you're going to be using a crossbow and a catapult to do so. But this game is a lot more than just launching projectiles. So let's show you how this game works. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and show you some of the components to this game. On this side, I've got the Vikings and all of their equipment, and I'm going to just simply use the barbarians to talk about the components here. Anyway, this is the courtyard. This is where you're going to be placing your castle and your walls, and this is mainly the area that you and your enemy are going to be shooting for. If you notice, there's a treasure here in the middle, and you're going to place your castle over this. One of the victory conditions you can set is if somebody shoots what is called a carom onto this treasure chest. These are the caroms. There's two, of course. There's the Viking side and the barbarian side. There's 2 different types. There'll be a regular projectile like this, or there'll be the king projectile like this, and the Vikings have this as well. Basically, with the king, there's a little bit more power that you have with him, and I'll talk about how that works. But essentially, you're going to be shooting these towards your opponent, and this is what you're going to be using to shoot them with. You're going to use what is called your crossbow. This is going to do a ground attack of sorts, and you'll just simply place the carom in front of it and just shoot it like that. And then, of course, you have your catapult, which is going to launch it in the air, and I'll see if I can get a little example here. A little bit like that. Of course, right here is your castle. You're going to place this over the treasure like so. And another victory condition is if you can actually knock over your opponent's castle like this. Now, you'll note that there's an opening right over here. This is where you're going to be able to kidnap your opponent's caroms. There's several ways you can do this, and you'll just simply place them into the castle like that. Of course, you have your castle walls. You're going to basically build this in front of your castle however you would like to protect it. I think you have about 12 pieces or so, but again, you can build it to the side, to the front, doubling it, or however you would like to do it. Right here you have your flags, and there's 5 of these. One of the flags is going to go on top of the castle like that. If you can knock this flag over, if you happen to have a captured carom, your opponent is going to have to give it back to you, and then he'll reset the flag. The other flags are used to set the boundaries as far as the battleground goes. In the typical game, the battlefield is going to be 6 feet long and 5 feet wide, and then you're going to place these flags on the side to represent what is called your castle ground, which is typically in this area or in this area. And if the carom happens to land in this area, you'll be able to capture it. And then, of course, you have your warriors and or spies. If you happen to land a carom in the courtyard, you'll be able to place one of these spies in there. Another victory condition is if you can get 4 spies onto your opponent's courtyard. And finally, the other victory condition is if you can capture all of your opponent's caroms. Now, we'll go ahead and talk about the courtyard itself. If you land a carom here on the bridge, on your next turn, you will be able to actually shoot from there, which can cause a lot of damage. If you land a carom in the moat, it is going to get captured. Again, if you land a carom in the courtyard, you'll be able to place a spy on there like so. And if you land a carom here on the treasure, if that's a victory condition, you will end up winning the game. Okay, I have a courtyard setup of sorts. And basically this is what it looks like. These here are your castle grounds. If your opponent lands a carom in this area, that carom is going to be captured. And another way that carom can be captured is, say on one of your turns you shoot a projectile into the middle of the table. So one of 2 things will happen. On your next turn, you'll be able to actually shoot the projectile from there towards your opponent, or your opponent might actually be able to capture it if he ends up shooting a projectile and hitting yours like that. In that case, it would go into the dungeon. A king carom can only capture another king carom. Now the flags here basically set the boundaries for the castle grounds, as you can tell, and anything beyond that is going to be out of bounds, and if it goes out of bounds, whoever shot it is going to get their carom back. So let's go ahead and show you how the weaponry works here. I'll just shoot the crossbow, and of course you're going to be in bounds when you shoot this. There you go. So there's an example, and I actually landed it in the courtyard, so I would actually get a spy in that case. So let me go ahead and shoot the catapult. This is a little bit harder to use, but let's see what we can do with it here. There we go. So that's how the catapult works. Now, another thing you can do, if you happen to have spies in your courtyard like this, you can try to barter with your opponent and say, I will give you back one of your kidnapped Karens if you remove your spy. And the same thing can happen, I believe, if you happen to have a warrior on your side and you have some kidnapped Karens. You could just simply ask your opponent if he would take one of these warriors on your side in place for one of your kidnapped Karens. So you can try to make offers like that. So basically that's how the game works. You're just going to be shooting Karens back and forth, kidnapping them, making deals of sorts. And the winner of the game, once again, happens in one of 4 ways, or all 4 ways, or a combination. Knocking over the castle, landing a Karen here on the treasure chest, getting 4 spies in the courtyard, or capturing all of your opponent's Karens. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Crossbows and Catapults. So my final thoughts on Crossbows and Catapults. Well, this is a game that I had as a kid growing up, and my mom got it for me back in the early 80s. And I have fond memories of this game, playing in my grandma's house back in Florida when we all have family get-togethers. Later on, my mom gave a bunch of the games away, this one being one of them. So anyway, years later, being maybe last year, I was looking around online and I came across this game. I said, oh yeah, I remember this game. And so I looked it up on eBay and it cost like $150 to $250. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So anyway, long story short, I ended up getting this game for about $105 right before my birthday. And with the gift cards and the money that I got, I actually only spent $5 of my own money to get this. So that's how I got a copy. Now, this game is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun shooting those projectiles at your opponent and knocking over the castle walls. Now, one of the things I really like about this game is that there are several ways to win. You can set your own victory conditions, and according to the instructions, you can actually make up your own, which is really, really cool. When you see that the game is for ages 5 and up, you might look at it and say, oh, well, then all you're going to be doing is shooting projectiles. No! There's a lot more with this game. Capturing your opponent's projectiles in many different ways, getting spies into the courtyard, trying to make deals with people that could get rid of spies and place a caroms and things of that nature, capturing opponents on the battlefield, knocking over your opponent's flags. A lot of stuff going on in this game. Especially with the courtyard, having the moat, and the courtyard you can land the caroms in, and the bridge, and the treasure. Really, really cool. Really like this game a lot. Now, this is a game I don't know how often I'm going to pull this out, just simply because it takes a big battlefield to make. It takes 6 feet by 5 feet typically. Now, the table that I showed this game to you on was probably about a foot short as far as length. So I don't know if that really makes much of a difference. Now, there are other companies that did make this game, and the last version of this game came out, I believe, in 2007, and it's called Battleground Crossbows and Catapults. It's a very cool looking game itself. The only thing is with that one is that there's only one victory condition, and that is knocking over all of your opponent's soldiers. And that's pretty much it. That doesn't mean that game is not fun. It just doesn't have the same victory conditions that this one has. When my wife and I played it, we used all 4. Now, an interesting thing, too, is when you look at the video, you might think, oh, this game is way too easy. That castle will go down in no problem, maybe 2 or 3 turns. Not so, and I'll tell you why. Number one, the bricks that you knock over are going to block the castle still, and they're going to help protect it. And another thing is when you start kidnapping caroms, that is going to add weight to the base, so it's going to make it a lot harder to knock the castle over. Now, you can knock the castle out of the way, of course, and try to get the treasure that way, but it is not easy. My wife ended up winning by getting 4 spies in my courtyard. That's how she ended up winning. It was rather fun. We had a lot of fun playing it. We're definitely going to play it again. Now, there's also expansions available for this game, but unfortunately, they cost a lot of money too. But you can get a dragon, you can get minotaurs, I think that's how it's pronounced. You can get a Trojan horse, you can get castle outposts, you can also get battle shields that'll go in front, which are very cool, but it's not necessary to play this game. Would I recommend this game? I definitely would recommend it if you can find a copy that goes for cheap, say at a flea market or something like that. I definitely would not pay $250 for this. But anyway, it's a very fun game, and I would recommend it. So guys, that's my review of Crossbows and Catapults. I hope you all have a great day, and keep on gaming.